Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
I gotta tell you, folks, I'm stunned, I'm surprised, I'm shocked. I thought that Al Franken would try to hang in there for another week. I thought he would try to make it past December 12th because that's the key date. If Al Franken, I told Snerdley, as I was all ready for Franken to continue to stay in the Senate, not resign, defy his party. I told Snerdley before the purchase to get it on record why I thought Franken would do that. Turns out I was wrong. Greetings, great to have you. Rush Limbaugh and broadcast excellence yet again at 800-282-2882 and the email address lrushmo@eibnet.com. Okay, so Franken buckled to the pressure of his own party. Even a personal plea from Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, for Franken to step aside. Now, here's the thing about this, folks. Yeah, we had a seventh and an eighth woman surface this week with explicit claims and details about the mistreatment they experienced at the hand and mouth of Al Franken. But I don't believe that all of these, what's the number up to now? 38 Democrats demanding I don't think it's about him. I don't think the Democrat Party standing up now in so-called righteous indignation. This sudden demand that Franken leave and get out of town as fast as he can. I don't think it has anything to do with the Democrat Party and decency and justice. I don't think it has anything to do with female senators and their power or any of that. This is all about one thing, and it's why I thought that Al Franken would hang on. This is all about Roy Moore. This is all about the Democrats' desperate effort to contrast the way they handled the Franken thing and the way the Republicans are handling the Roy Moore thing. And then in an ancillary way, the way the Republicans are not dealing with the Trump thing. It is clear that the Democrats looked at Franken, all this talk about he was a potential presidential candidate in 2020, an upcoming Democrat star, all of that obviously total BS. Because they're happy to get rid of him because they're not losing a seat. There's a Democrat governor in Minnesota that's going to name Franken's replacement. I don't know if it's going to be John Conyers' son. I don't know if it's going to. Keith Ellison is the name that's being bandied about. But regardless, the Democrats are going to hold the seat. So Franken became expendable. Franken became a pawn. Franken became a non-entity. Franken became a nobody to them. At the end of the day, they didn't care about Al Franken. At the end of the day, they don't care about individuals. They never let Al Franken face his accusers. You know, Franken wanted to go to the ethics community. He wanted these allegations examined. He claimed all along that he would be found innocent. But they weren't going to let that happen. No ethics committee, no Franken being allowed to hold on. No Al Franken not be allowed to face his accusers. Al Franken gone. See you later, Al. Maybe you could call Lorne Michaels at Saturday Night Live and get a gig there again. Just tossed Franken aside. And it was a groundswell that happened in the last couple of days. And I'm telling you, it isn't about any newfound decency on the part of the Democrat Party or newfound morality. It is all about Roy Moore, because the polling data that's out there in Alabama, they are convinced that Moore is going to win. So now they're going to try to turn what they think is going to be a Roy Moore victory into an albatross around the Republicans' necks, and it began today by telling Al Franken to take a hike. Look at this story. This is the Washington Post. White women in Alabama have made up their minds about Roy Moore. This headline is filled with spite, spittle, and disgust. The Washington Post is livid. White women, probably Christians and a bunch of racists, have already made up their minds about Roy Moore. And the Washington Post is livid that white women in Alabama are not listening to them. And it was a Washington Post poll. Shows that nearly 6 in 10 white women in Alabama are likely to vote for Roy Moore. After the 2016 presidential election, women on the left called out the 53% of white women who helped elect Trump over Clinton. Last spring, actress Tina Fey warned white college-educated women who had supported Trump that their votes would have negative consequences for them. Why does anybody care what a TV comedian thinks about any of this? Why the hell should anybody care what some TV actress has to say about anything? This is no different than taking public opinion from Twitter and assigning it automatic credibility. So anyway, you white women in Alabama, you have become the enemy. You're idiots. You're racists. And probably sexists, and you're blindly... What these people in the media don't... If they would have just shut up, if the media would have just reported this 10% of the way they did, there might be a whole different take going on in Alabama. But what the media in so many parts of this country is so distrusted and so despised and so disliked that they create a backlash against themselves to the point whatever they want is the exact opposite of what people do. Now, it could be that the media is playing a psych game here, knows that full well, and wants Roy Moore elected. I don't think so. I think the media wants to be able to claim they got his scalp. I think the media would love to be able to say they defeated Roy Moore with their coverage. And their coverage is being ignored here, and white women say they're going to vote for Moore anyway, and it ticks them off. So anyway, they're planning on Moore winning. That means Franken has to go. Conyers had to go. That meant Franken had to go. You can't kick out the octogenarian black guy and leave in the pencil IQ senator white guy from Minnesota. You can't do that. Not on the Democrat side, where identity politics is everything. This is also about, I think, Kirsten Gillibrand. She's serious about being in the race for the Democrat presidential nomination in 2020. And I think a public position here on the reprobate Al Franken, how he's got to go, is all part of that. But I told Snerdley, and Snerdley can confirm this on Twitter where he hangs out. I told him if Franken could just hang on to December 12th when the election happened, whatever happened, more wins, more loses, it doesn't matter. When the election's over, the Democrat braying against Franken would go away. Because that's all this is about now. No. I don't have any sympathy for Franken. That's not but I'll tell you what, it is noteworthy, I believe, that this party, Republicans have been known to do this for a long time, but it's noteworthy here, the Democrats, there was they didn't even give a second thought to anything approaching due process. The word of these women was automatically accepted. Franken was not allowed to challenge them directly. He was not allowed to have them present their evidence to the ethics committee because they wanted him gone because they don't care about him. That's what this all boils down to. They care about the seat. They're going to hold on to the seat because it comes from Minnesota with a Democrat governor. So Franken became expendable in the furtherance of other Democrat Party agenda items. Franken's speech in the Senate just now was a combination pathetic, sorrowful, pitiful. I think he thought he was Richard Nixon at times. He clearly thinks he's a martyr. And he clearly has a very, very deeply held personal, he's deeply hurt personally by what people he thinks loved him have done here. And so he thinks he's been martyred, and he played that card up pretty well. He also drew some analogies. He said it's quite ironic that on the day I resign, a political party is fully endorsing a man who engaged, whatever, sexually with young girls in Alabama, and a president who admitted to grabbing whatever. Trump never admitted doing that. Trump was describing what powerful entertainers can do if they want to, but to try to parse that as a losing cause, because people already think that Trump said that, describing his own behavior. So we'll never know. We'll never know. But maybe we will. What if the Roy Moore election happens, regardless of the outcome? What if Franken, and by the way, he's entirely capable of this. After September 12th, the Roy Moore election, so forth and so on, Roy Moore wins. I can see Franken, you know what? After this, I'm not leaving. I retract my resignation. If the Senate's going to seat this clown, there's no reason I should be quitting here. This is outrageous. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. Let me take a quick time out, my friends. We'll do that and be back and continue with all the rest of today's exciting excursion into broadcast excellence right after this. Now, a lot of you might have laughed when I said, Franken might change his mind and not resign. Well, I want to play a couple of sound bites here for you from Senator Franken today, and you'll see why I opined as I did. Hear from his speech on the Senate floor about a half hour ago.
Over the last few weeks, a number of women have come forward to talk about how they felt my actions had affected them.
Wait a minute. Hold it just a second. Listen, where is the one? I'm looking. Well, go ahead. I guess it's in this one. Go ahead. Keep playing it.
I was upset. But in responding to their claims, I also wanted to be respectful of that broader conversation, because all women deserve to be heard.
No, stop it. Here, I want to get soundbite 20. Time is the essence on this program. I don't have a lot of it. Goes through. Grab soundbite 20. This is the point I want to make. Play it. 3, 2, 1. Hit it.
I know in my heart that nothing I have done as a senator, nothing, has brought this honor on this institution. And I am confident that the Ethics Committee would agree. Nevertheless, today I am announcing that in the coming weeks, I will be resigning as a member of the United States Senate.
Stop the tape. In the coming weeks, I will be. He has not resigned. He has stated his intention to resign in the coming weeks. This means that Franken will still be able to vote, for example, on legislation. Say the government shutdown, say the tax bill, if it ever gets out of conference committee, any other item that comes up. In the coming weeks, the Roy Moore election in Alabama is 5 days from now, for example. So, depending on how that goes and how people react to that, Al Franken could easily change his mind and say, I just said I was going to resign in the coming weeks. But until he submits the papers, and even then, now it's a long shot, I understand, but I think he's leaving the door open is the point here. He doesn't want to go, does not want to go. He doesn't want to go back to being a comedian. This made him, in his mind, somebody. This made him a member of a club with only 100 members. And the last thing he wanted to do was go, and he still doesn't want to go. And he knows they're not forcing him out because they're really bothered by what he did. And that's got to be eating him alive. They're not asking him to leave because of what he did. I mean, ultimately, yeah. But they're not offended by what he did. These women, these other Democrats, they're not offended by that. They see Franken resigning as a political opportunity. I'm telling you, it's all about Roy Moore, which then makes it all about Donald Trump. Grab audio soundbite number 21. This is close to the wrap-up.
Let me be clear. I may be resigning my seat, but I am not giving up my voice. I will continue to stand up for the things I believe in as a citizen and as an activist. But Minnesotans deserve a senator who can focus with all her energy on addressing the challenges they face every day.
Now, the polling data on the 2020 senatorial election in Minnesota, at this stage, it doesn't look good for Franken. There is no guarantee that he would win re-election right now because of this. And in his remarks today, he alluded to the fact that really the mitigating factor here is the people of Minnesota and how much he treasures them and how much they mean to him and how honest and hardworking they are and how thus they deserve an honest and hardworking representative and senator. But this has caused problems for his re-election bid. It's not automatic. But you note here, Minnesotans deserve a senator who can focus with all her energy on addressing the challenges they face every day. Yeah, I have to think here that it's going to be a banner year for women in Democrat electoral politics. You can almost make book on the fact that the Democrat presidential nominee is going to be a woman. And it's going to be either Kamala Harris, it's going to be Pocahontas, or it's going to be Kirsten Gillibrand. Those are at least three. Now, there are going to be some men, obviously, who will run. And it's going to be fascinating to me to watch how the Democrat Party treats those men. Because when we get to 2020, which will start next year, when we get to the presidential cycle of 2020, the Democrats have set the table here for the fact that they had better nominate a woman. It was going to be Hillary in 2016, and it was. But she lost. She blew it. And there are going to be some Democrats that think, hey, we've already done that. We played the women card. We threw that down, and we've shown our diversity. We've shown our loyalty. We don't have to set ourselves up and limit ourselves by requiring and demanding a woman be our nominee. So there are going to be some guys that want this gig, too, although it'd be hard to name them right now, but they will surface. So it's going to be, and of course, what happens in the 2018 midterms is going to be hugely determinant here. It's going to be a big factor in what the Democrat presidential aspirations of 2020 look like. Because right now, the Democrats think they own it. They think they've won the House back already. They do this all the time. They won the governorship election in Virginia, and that they kept the seat. There was nothing earth-shattering about it. Oh, do you know what I saw today? The Census Bureau, some new numbers. The 5 wealthiest counties in America are Washington suburbs in Virginia and Maryland. 15, 20 years ago, the wealthiest zip code in America was Jupiter Island, Florida. Jupiter Island, Florida. You have to get permission to even cross the bridge there. Jupiter Island, Florida, no longer in the top 5. Well, now, maybe if they still categorize them by zip codes, this is by counties. Jupiter Island's no slouch. If you look at the zip codes, they may still be in the top 5. But the top 5 wealthiest counties are Washington, D.C. suburbs. What does that, that speaks volumes. Let me take another obscene profit break here. We'll be back and continue in mere momentos. Yeah, my friends, it's Christmas time. It's the holiday season. We, even here in South Florida, have a cold front coming our way. Have you guys seen the long range? It's only going to get to 65 on Sunday. And it's going to be windy. And when that happens down here, you should see it's funny. People get out the long, heavy coats and sweaters and stuff, and they turn on the fireplaces. 65 degrees. Yeah, the boots. Now, in fairness, it will be about 49 degrees at night. And that, for all intents and purposes for here, is people are sub-freezing. Anyway, welcome back. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. Folks, we have we put together about a 90-second video that's been posted on our Facebook page and at rushlimbaugh.com on the Christmas tree ornament that we commissioned this year. Just a brief explanation. Normally, we create a little ornament that becomes a premium for new subscribers to the Rush Limbaugh website, rushlimbaugh.com, and our newsletter, the Limbaugh Letter. This year, we are continuing to offer the premium that's a Tervis tumbler. It keeps hot beverages hot, cold beverages cold. Cold beverages don't sweat. These Tervis tumblers are awesome. And we have a brand new design. In fact, show them again on the side camera here, Brian. This is the new Tervis tumbler. And, of course, that's just one side of it. Let me rotate it a bit here. You can see some pithy statements that I have made over the course of my stellar career that are memorialized there. So this is the premium that is available El Fribo with new subscriptions. The Christmas tree ornament, we actually commissioned a forge company in Pennsylvania, and they're handmade. Each one of them is. And it is such a unique piece for us that we have put together a video documenting our process from the design to the manufacture. And it explains it and shows it better than I could ever describe it here, which is why we did this. And the audio for this video comes from one of my discussions of the ornament here on the program. And it's available at the homepage at rushlimbaugh.com or our Facebook page. Now, I have a news story here that could very well be bombshell material. It's from James Rosen at Fox News. The headline, Top DOJ Official Demoted Amid Probe of Contacts with Trump Dossier Firm. Now, in setting this up, by the way, my voice is going, and I'm starting to feel feverish here. And I hope that's not what's happening here. During the last break, I'm looking at the computer, and all of a sudden I have a sense, I don't feel quite right. And it's been years since I've had a cold, because I make sure I have an ongoing supply of nicotine. Nicotine, to me, fights off the common cold virus. Smoke cigars. But anyway, I hope it's just a temporary flash and wasn't indicative of a deteriorating condition. This morning, there was testimony. The new FBI director, Christopher Wray, was grilled by the House, Intelligence Committee, House Judiciary, I'm not sure which committee it was. But Christopher Wray is the FBI director appointed by Trump. And he was being grilled by the Democrats today, and even some of the Republicans. Now, this guy is Trump's head of the FBI. Christopher Wray, appointed by Trump after Comey was fired. And as I'm watching this, look, I know he's the head of the FBI, and therefore he is the go-to guy now. But grilling this guy kind of missed the point or missed the boat as far as I'm concerned. Why not grill the people who were running the FBI when it was covering up for Hillary and her role in the email scandal and her role with her husband in Uranium One and the Clinton Foundation and the Trump dossier? Those are the people that really need to be grilled. Now, Christopher Wray may be Trump's guy, but he's also the head of the FBI, and he's going to be protective of the FBI's mission. I guess we should be glad it's a grilling and not a roast, like the Friars Club roast of Matt Lauer. Anyway, this morning, CNN headlined an article on the upcoming testimony by Christopher Wray. FBI head Wray will testify after Trump trashed agency. I kid you not. I thought it was Comey and his minions McCabe and Peter Strzok and his girlfriend Lisa Page who trashed the FBI's reputation. Trump hasn't trashed the FBI's reputation. If anything, Trump's trying to restore it. What did I see? I keep having little synapses fire in my brain here. I saw something. There was a new round of criticism from Never Trumpers about Trump, and I'm sitting here thinking, you want to talk about irony? Some of these never-Trumpers out there are ardent conservatives. You know who they are as well as I do. You know the magazines, you know the blog sites. When you get down to looking at what Trump has done, when you look at Trump's agenda, you're going to find more conservatism than we had with George W. Bush. You're going to find more conservatism than we had with George H.W. Bush. You're going to find more conservatism in the Trump agenda. You're going to find more conservatism in the items of the Trump agenda which have been implemented already. And the never-Trumpers have a saying now. Yeah, well, maybe Gorsuch. Meaning that's the only thing we can credit Trump for. Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. But that's by no means everything. It's gotten so bad. Did you see what Obama said yesterday? I'm getting ahead of myself here in terms of the stack. Obama actually compared, folks, Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler on the genocide angle. Barack Hussein Obama actually in a speech worries about Trump eventually committing genocide on people the way Adolf Hitler did. And you can't find a peep about it in the drive-by media. Now, you let some deranged right-winger make some similar statement, and the drive-by media drops everything and tries to wipe them out and destroy them. And here comes Obama. I'll find it after the break and give you the some of the quotes and the details of where he made the statement. But this is unprecedented. And he wasn't cracking a joke. So Obama is terribly worried about Trump. Trump is more conservative than anything they ever imagined. And as you know, there are a lot of establishmentarians in the Republican Party who hate conservatism themselves and don't like conservatives. And that's, Trump proving to be, whether he is one or not, we know he's not ideological, but his political instincts in terms of the agenda items he has and how he's trying to implement them got conservatism fingerprints all over them. And this has got to be irritating them even more, because these are the people, these never-Trump conservatives have been trying to tell everybody for years that they are the definition of conservatism. They are the rightful inheritors of Reagan, who they didn't like either, or any other brilliant intellectual conservatives. And yet, what have they done to implement diddly squat? Nothing. Here comes Trump, who's implementing serious conservative agenda items, and they still trash him. Now, Obama piping up that they're worried on the left here that Trump could actually be like Hitler in terms of genocide. It's a direct reference to the Holocaust. Anyway, back to Christopher Wray. I did not lose my place. So he's being grilled here. And as I say, I understand that he's the current head of the FBI. This CNN story goes on to say, appearing publicly before the House Judiciary Committee, Wray can expect to be questioned by lawmakers about the insult as well as other sensitive issues, including integrity of the special counsel Russia probe and the laws around obstruction of justice. It's all dump on Trump, because Trump is daring to challenge what the FBI is doing. Trump has not trashed the FBI. The FBI and the former people that ran it have done that already. And they're the people that need to be grilled. So back to this story. A senior Justice Department official was demoted this week amid an ongoing investigation into his contacts with the opposition research firm, Fusion GPS, responsible for the anti-Trump dossier. Until Wednesday morning, Bruce Orr, OHR, held two titles at the Department of Justice: Associate Deputy Attorney General, which is a position that placed him 4 doors down from the boss, Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General. And his other title was Director of the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. That's a program described by the department as the centerpiece of the Attorney General's drug strategy. Bruce Orr will retain that title, but he's been stripped of his higher title and ousted from his office on the 4th floor of Maine justice. Initially, senior department officials could not provide the reason for his demotion, but Fox News learned that evidence collected by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, chaired by Devin Nunes, indicates that Bruce Orr met during the 2016 campaign with Christopher Steele, the former British spy who wrote the Trump dossier. Now, again, the Trump dossier is nothing more than a pack of lies put together by a Democrat. Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for it, and it is essentially a fake document. It's made to look like serious intelligence, but it's nothing more than fake opposition research. And this dossier has been incorporated and used by the FBI and the CIA as the foundation for their investigation into Trump colluding with Russia. And it is bogus. It is made up. There isn't anything in it that's true. It was commissioned by Hillary Clinton as a campaign aid, which has been converted here into a supposed intelligence document, giving it credibility, giving it a lot of weight. The foundation for essentially this special counsel investigation, and it's bogus. In that sense, this is one of the greatest political tricks that has ever been perpetrated, because it has led to one of the greatest political scandals ever, and it's ongoing. This investigation is ongoing, and there are no crimes that can be found, so they're having to create and invent crimes in the process of the investigation. And these crimes, such as Flynn and the indictments of Manafort, none of this would be happening were it not for a bogus dossier having been written and accepted as legitimate intel by the CIA and the DOJ, and now the special counsel. So, a top Justice Department official has been demoted because it has been learned that this guy, he was there during the Obama administration. This guy was talking to Christopher Steele, who wrote the phony and fake dossier. Now, to me, it's bombshell. I don't think this story will even make the drive-by media. Let me take a brief timeout. We'll continue after this. Obama was speaking at the Economic Club of Chicago. In a friendly interview with CBS News financial analyst Melody Hobson. And wait a minute, Melody Hobson. She's married to George Lucas. Melody Hobson is married to George Lucas, has donated over $100,000 to Obama's presidential campaigns. She's called Colin Kaepernick a hero of hers. And she interviewed Obama. And in this interview, which is described as friendly, Obama suggested we could have an American genocide akin to what happened in Nazi Germany with Trump as president. Obama was speaking at the Economic Club of Chicago, made the caustic remark in comments captured by Crane's Chicago business political columnist Greg Hines, H-I-N-Z. According to Hines, Obama warned of Trump's nativism and distrust of the media, and that could cause our democracy to fall apart quickly. Obama then made the connection between Trump and Hitler, warning 60 million people died when the world got complacent. And, of course, this Hines guy apparently loved what Obama said because he tweeted out, "Take that, real Donald Trump." Obama makes clear his view that a complacent America could be headed the way of Nazi Germany. Read his remarkable comments at Economic Club of Chicago. Holy smoke. You haven't seen a word of this, I will bet you, anywhere in the drive-by media. Well, it's beyond outrageous. I mean, it is outrageous, but it's so far beyond outrageous. It's unpresidential. It's paranoid. It is. You pick your adjective and your descriptive. Anybody else comparing anybody to Hitler, and here come the drive-bys and everybody else descending on you saying it's irresponsible, you shut up, we're going to make sure you can't speak and you keep talking this way. And they just descend on these people like crazy. Here's the former president of the United States warning that if we get complacent with Trump and his nativism, it's going to lead to a genocide of 60 million people like happened in Nazi Germany. Are they in panic or what? That's what I think. I think exactly what I thought was going to happen is happening. I think Obama is a combination of angry, livid, outraged, paranoid that his agenda is being unraveled. Because that's exactly what Trump is doing. Trump is unraveling all of Obama's executive action regulations that he can. Global warming, the Iranian nuke deal. Trump is literally unwinding everything Obama did, tried to unwind Obamacare. Donald Trump is trying to erase the Obama presidency. And Obama damn well knows it. I thought this would happen long before now, but it's finally happened. Remember, I predicted you people Obama was going to go on TV, start warning everybody. I never thought he would compare Trump to Hitler. But he knows what's going on. And he viewed his 8 years as just the foundation, and then the next Democrat presidents would further it, and we would finally at some point transform America. Now it's all being not just unraveled, but erased, and they are livid about it. Now, the story on the Obama Nazi comments is we found it at Newsbusters, and I have to, even when I saw it, I said, be careful with this. You know, this is so out there, but it looks like every bit of it's true. See you in a few minutes here. Holy smokes, another Democrat has bitten the dust, and in this case, a former Democrat. Harold Ford Jr. Harold Ford Jr. fired for misconduct by Morgan Stanley. And the details here in the Huffing and Puffing and Post. By the way, thehill.com has run the story on Obama at the Economic Club of Chicago. Yeah, it's the only mainstream media news report I've seen on it, and it's barely. Obama warns of complacency, notes rise of Hitler. Nothing in the headline about comparing Trump to Hitler. Nothing in the headline about warning the American people and the world that Trump could become Hitler. And then from the Hill story, while some could see the remark as a veiled jab at President Trump, Obama did not mention Trump by name during the event. Well, that's not what I've got here. That's not the Newsbuster story. Obama warns Trump will lead America to genocide like Hitler. And this comes from a guy, again, named Greg Hines, at Crane Chicago Business. According to Hines, Obama warned Trump's nativism and distrust of the media would cause our democracy to fall apart quickly. Obama then made the connection between Trump and Hitler, warning 60 million people died when the world got complacent. So whether Obama actually mentioned Trump's name or not, the reporter was happy that he was drawing the analogy and comparison to Trump and Hitler. That's what everybody there thought Obama meant. So the Hill.com is going out of its way. And this line is buried at the bottom of their story. While some could see the remark as a veiled jab at President Trump, Obama didn't mention Trump by name. Let me tell you something. He meant Trump because the last 2 weeks, we had this story sometime last week or the week before. Obama has been shadowing Trump on Trump's foreign trips. You know, Trump will go to outer Myanmar, and a couple days later, Obama will show up. And then Trump will go to Japan, then Obama shows up. Wherever Trump went on this most recent trip, Obama followed by a day or two and was trying to control any damage, pick up whatever pieces. There's no doubt in my... Folks, it's not just Mueller. Now Obama's in on this. There is a full-fledged effort to do damage, heavy damage, leading ultimately to the destruction of Trump and his presidency? There's no doubt in my mind. There's no question about it. From Obama shadowing Trump on his foreign trips and now this, it's amazing. You have people who were there from Crane's Chicago business celebrating Obama's comment, immediately drawing the connection between Trump and Hitler from Obama's words. And now the Hill.com says, well, there was no direct mention of this. Some have said, but they don't want to run the story. They had to touch on it, but I haven't seen it anywhere else but the Hill.com. This is hard to describe how beyond the pale this is. I mean, think back over any of the recent past when, one of the things you just don't do, it's considered beyond the pale, is to compare anybody in American politics today to Hitler, to compare anybody to Hitler. They laugh at you. They smirk at you. When you do that, they claim you've run out of any arguments to make. When you start comparing people, your political opposition or your enemies to Hitler, well, then the rejoinder is, wow, you really have run out of substantive things to say, right? That's the easiest thing in the world. Just compare him to the worst guy that ever lived. Fine and dandy. You got nothing. That's the reaction you get. But that's not the reaction Obama got. When Obama did it, Melody Hobson praised Obama. And this guy, Greg Hines at Crane Chicago Business, celebrated it. Here, in fact, let me read to you the summary of Obama's comments directed at Trump by this guy Hines from Crane Chicago Business. I'm just going to read. Obama moved from that to talking about a nativist mistrust and unease that has swept around the world. He argued that such things as the speed of technical change, the uneven impact of globalization have come too quickly to be absorbed in many cultures, bringing strange new things and people to areas in which people didn't used to challenge your assumptions. As a result, nothing feels solid, Obama said. Sadly, there's something in us that looks for simple answers when we're agitated. Still, I'm still reading from Greg Hines here. Still, the U.S. has survived tough times before and will again, Obama noted, particularly mentioning the days of communist fighter Joseph McCarthy and former President Nixon. But one reason the country survived, Obama says, is because it had a free press to ask questions. The danger is growing complacent, Obama said. We have to tend to this garden of democracy or else things could fall apart quickly. That's what happened in Germany in the 30s, which, despite the democracy of the Weimar Republic and centuries of high-level cultural scientific achievements, Adolf Hitler rose to dominate. 60 million people died, so you got to pay attention and you got to vote. How does anybody not conclude that those remarks are about Trump? Everything Obama claims to be worried about is because of Trump. A newbie that doesn't know what he's doing, a newbie that can't keep up with technological advancement, a newbie that is a nativist, a newbie that's giving people comfort because they themselves can't adapt to rapid technological change. That's another slight to the bitter clingers, no doubt. So everybody there, at least the media that was present, had no doubt that Obama was talking about Trump in his comparisons to Hitler. We'll see. Let's just wait. Let's just wait and see if this effervesces up into the drive-by media. Wasn't it Obama spying on reporters from the Associated Press and Fox News, trying to throw them in jail? Wasn't it Obama who didn't trust the media? Despite they were his best friends, despite they would have done anything for the guy. Now back to Harold Ford Jr., who I like. I've met Harold Ford Jr. He's a nice guy. I was on a panel with him and the Speaker, Willie Brown, California State Assembly, was out at a Milken event at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. in Beverly Hills. It's a hotel that Whitney Houston died in. It's the hotel that Merv Griffin used to own. And I flew out there for this thing. Milken had requested I go, and I was on a panel with Willie Brown and Ford, and it was the first year of Obama's presidency, his first or second year. And I forget who else. Frank Luntz in his Keds tennis shoes was moderating the panel discussion, making jokes about people's flies being open. And, of course, I was the only one in the whole ballroom saying what I said, thinking what I thought. Milken loved it for that reason. Made it not milquetoast. But Harold Ford we had dinner beforehand. Well, they ate. I didn't. I never eat before going on stage. But he was as nice as he could be. He was very forthcoming. That was like the second or third time I've been around him. A woman who was interviewed as part of the Morgan Stanley Human Resources probe separately told a Huffing and Puffington Post that Harold Ford Jr. harassed her one night in Manhattan several years ago. Former Democrat Congressman Harold Ford Jr. has been fired for misconduct by Morgan Stanley after facing a human resources investigation into allegations of misconduct, according to a company spokeswoman. He has been terminated for conduct inconsistent with our values and in violation of our policies, said the spokeswoman. At least one woman who is not a Morgan Stanley employee but interacted with Harold Ford Jr. in a professional capacity was interviewed as part of the investigation. In 2 interviews, the woman alleged Harold Ford engaged in harassment, intimidation, and forcibly grabbed her one evening in Manhattan, leading her to seek aid from a building security guard. The incident took place several years ago when Ford and the woman were supposed to be meeting for professional reasons. Ford continued to contact her after the encounter until she wrote an email asking him to cease. The Huffing and Puffington Post is not identifying the woman at her request, but has reviewed emails that confirm her interactions with Ford. And they say they spoke to 2 people whom the woman confided in about the incident. You know, that's become the new standard of proof. So woman A alleges that reprobate B harassed her. The media says, we want proof. Woman A says, talk to my friends. I reported it to them the moment it happened. So the media calls the friends of woman A. And the friends, oh, yeah, I remember. She called me within moments of this happening. And she said, blah, 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 blah. And then they go to the second or third friend of woman A. And then the media goes back to reprobate B and says, we got you, bud. We got you. She has just had the story confirmed by 2 of her best friends. That has become the new standard, for better or worse. So the pressure now once again returns to the special counsel Robert Mueller. Got to do something to change the narrative because the news continues to be dominated by Democrats in a very unfavorable way. So all this keeps popping up and all this keeps happening, and yet Donald Trump remains the focus. The objective has never changed, and the energy behind it has never wavered. Get rid of Trump. You know what? As I pointed out in the last hour, some of the people joining the get rid of Trump area are people who are as conservative as you and me, who I think have just got caught up in the whole, we got to get rid of Trump because we got to get rid of Trump. We got to get rid of Trump because we got to get rid of Trump. Why? Well, we just have to. Yeah, but why? Well, because we just do. Yeah, but why? Have you not noticed all of the things that you otherwise in life support that are happening and getting done? I don't care. We got to get rid of Trump. Why? Well, because I'm a never Trumper. We got to get rid of Trump. It's become its own organism. It's been out there for so long, people join the movement just because the movement exists. And at the beginning of it, it seemed like the right thing to do. Let me take a break. We'll come back and get started on the phones. Be patient. Your guiding light. Times of trouble, confusion, murkiness, tumult, chaos, disaster, and even the good times. Rush Limbaugh at 800-282-2882, and we start in Houston. This is Pat. Great to have you on the phone, sir. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Rush. Mega dittos. The Al Franken situation, among everything else that's wrong with Al there, it just gives me another example of how the Democrats will disregard an election results to serve their own needs. I mean, they haven't even asked what the people of Minnesota want. And then the comparison is that the Republicans are saying, hey, let the voters in Alabama see what they want to do with Roy Moore.
Well, that was a late arrival. The Republicans at first were fully prepared to deny the people of Alabama their choice. There's polling data in Minnesota doesn't look good for Franken. 2020, he's up for re-election. So they do have that. And Franken even made a very roundabout reference to that. But look, you're right. Basically, the Democrats don't care about Franken. All they care about is not losing the seat. And if they get rid of him, then they think they have the moral high ground going after Trump and Roy Moore. And they don't lose a seat because Franken will be replaced by another reprobate Democrat.
Right.
But you think Franken shouldn't go? Is that where you're going? You think the people of Minnesota being denied their senator they elected here? Is that what your point is?
Yeah, I don't think he should go. I mean, in Franken's situation, look, there's no cigar, there's no blue dress. I mean, we have a guy who was handsy at photo ops. Now, he's a creep, but they knew he was a creep when they elected him the first time.
Well, wait, did they?
Well, he had an admitted history of drug and alcohol use, and he's an entertainer from a late-night party show, Saturday Night Live. And
those are all resume enhancements on the Democrat side.
Right. But you know, I don't see that there's anything that is new here on Al Franken that people didn't really know about him when they first elected him. I mean,
let me ask you this:
new shocking moment with Al Franken.
Yeah, let me ask you. I think the biggest argument against Al Franken is Al Franken Senate. Really, just the idea that it never made sense. I mean, if I were Democrat, I'd have been embarrassed about it the moment they stole the 300 votes to give him the victory.
Yeah.
But look, let me ask you a question. Let's say that Franken would have told him to pound sand, and I'm not going. I'm staying. And they got 38. Is that the latest count? 38 Democrats told him to get, and he said, no, I'm staying. What do you think? If you want him to stand tall here and say, I'm not denying the people that voted for me, they're not getting a say in this, and I'm not leaving until they tell me I'm out, and they can't do that till 2020. So you, Gillibrand, and the rest of you, to take it somewhere else. What do you think would happen to the Democrat Party if Franken had stood his ground?
Oh, well, they would. I think they would start to implode, or they'd look weak backing off. But I think Franken's problem is that he's trying to think like a senator here, and he's stepping down. And if he was true to himself, he'd come out and say, look, I was an idiot when you elected me, and I was acting like an idiot, so I'm going to stick around to be the idiot that you elected.
I think he may still, because he said he's going to resign in the coming weeks. He still wants to vote on the tax bill, the government shutdown, and maybe if he decided to stay, I don't know, I just came up with the question myself. I'll have to think about it. But if he decided to stay, defy Schumer, because that's who he'd be defying. He'd be defying Schumer, and then whoever Schumer's second in command is, I don't even know. Who's the deputy leader in this? That's right, it's Turbin, Dick Turbin, that's right. So he'd be defying Schumer and Turbin, and he would also be defying Pocahontas and Macy, the Hawaiian senator, and Gillibrand. And McCaskill. She might have gotten in a family private plane and buzzed his house in Minnesota. I don't know. It was fascinating. If he refused to go, well, they would have to come up with some strategy. Either it would be, I think, if they're true to why they want him to leave, let's clear the decks so that they can, from a moral high ground, attack Trump and Roy Moore. then they have to continue attacking him. They have to continue putting pressure on him until he does leave. I think that's what, and it would be ugly. Yeah. Well, somebody got to him. I mean, you're right. If he was really thinking, on second thought, citing Clinton would have been great. But the problem with that is, gone back and revisited Clinton, and the media has said, we blew it. We should have told Clinton to resign back then. So if he would have cited Clinton, the media would have been forced to treat Franken like they're now treating Clinton. Say, no, you got to go. We made a mistake then, and we're not going to compound it by supporting you. It would have been fun to watch, which is kind of why I was hoping he would hang on. I was hoping he would hang on until at least after the Roy Moore election, which is just 5 days from now. And I'm still telling you, he hasn't resigned. He not technically. What he announced was his intention to resign in the coming weeks. I'm telling you, this guy has left himself an out. So the Roy Moore election is going to be the determinant here. If Roy Moore loses, then Frank is, okay, I got to quit. But if Roy Moore wins, he set the table for this today. It's ironic that I'm resigning when the Republican Party's prepared to elect a child molester. He set the table for not leaving today, depending on that election. You mark my words. Half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. El Rushbo in the fastest 3 hours in media. And we head back to the phones. This is Kevin in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Great to have you. How you doing?
Thanks, Rush. An honor to talk to you. Listen, I think, remember when Nancy Pelosi was singing the praises of Conyers and Al Franken, and Conyers was an icon, and 2 days later she just totally flipped? I think that Chuck Schumer must have called her, got her behind closed doors, and who knows what happened there. I don't even want to think about that. But I think that because he felt that he was going to lose this tax plan.
Wait a minute, did you just try to create a picture of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi behind closed doors? I must be a little slow on the uptake today because I just started envisioning that.
It's like we thought. But anyway,
some people might call that sexual harassment. Just
exactly
the thought.
It's fitting to the story, but that's beside the point. I think that Schumer has realized he's lost this tax plan bill, and he's starting to target. That's the wrong word to use. He's trying to now go after the women's vote for 2018. He's given up on the tax bill, and now he's trying to strategize how to get the women's vote for 2018 by dumping these people who have had accusations made to them.
I have just a slightly different take. It's one of degrees. I think the Democrats think they own the women's vote, and they're trying not to lose it. And I think they're looking at Roy Moore as an opportunity to shore up the women's vote even more. Now, you have Pelosi. So Pelosi's instincts are vividly on display here. Franken and Conyers. Well, let's talk Conyers because he's in the House. Conyers gets in trouble. Pelosi's natural instinct as a political warrior is to defend the guy no matter what, because over her dead body are the Republicans going to be able to take one of her people out. Doesn't matter what he did. Doesn't matter who he is. The Republicans aren't going to take him out. That's her natural instinct, and it's every Democrat's natural instinct. They will defend no matter what it is, rather than allow the Republicans to take any of their people out. They're going to take them out if they're going to be taken out, not the Republicans. So then maybe you're right. Schumer calls her. They have a conference, and he reads her the Riot Act and details the long-form strategy. She's not in the best of shape in the House either. There's a lot of people want her gone simply because she's Jurassic Park. And they want more youthful leadership because the millennial vote is important to them. And old people get moved. Once, the 1849 demographic, once you're out of that, how old are you?
I'm 66.
Okay, so you and I don't count anymore. Once you're past the 18 to 49 demographic, they don't care about you anymore. Advertisers, politics, all of that. They just assume that you're who you are. They can count on you. But they're giving up trying to persuade you. 1849, that's what they focus on. Pelosi's long past 49. So the business about defending Conyers and 2 days later deciding to throw him overboard, probably the result of what you say. Schumer sits her down and says, look, we can't defend this given everything else that we've been trying to do with Trump. And she sees the light. Conyers has to go. They forgot to factor in the Congressional Black Caucasians. They goofed this up in any number of ways.
Well, just to kind of back up what I was saying, though, this morning I saw on Fox a poll that 77% of Democrats are in favor of ousting these people being accused of sexual harassment, and 51% of Republicans are in favor of that. And I think they're going to run with this narrative throughout the whole next year, right up until Election Day.
Well, I don't doubt it. But that 77% of Democrats there's a reason for that. The Democrats have made this an issue. Feminism, pro-choice, and all this, they've made it. These 77% of Democrats just being loyal.
Right.
That they're kind of getting hoisted on their own petard here. They never, I'll guarantee you, they never expected this Weinstein stuff to drop or this Matt Lauer stuff to drop. They thought they'd be able to protect that. Right. Even while they zeroed in on Trump and Roy Moore. So well, I think they think they've got the women's vote, and they're trying not to lose it, which is why you can bank on the fact that they're going to pull out all the stops to make sure their presidential nominee in 2020 is yet again a woman, particularly if Trump decides to run again. But I think they're making a bunch of assumptions that are wrong, and they're making these assumptions way too soon. For example, folks, do not doubt me, they think they have won the House in 2018. They hate Trump, and so they think everybody else does. The reasons they hate Trump, they think are the reasons everybody else hates Trump. They hate Republicans, and they think they have succeeded with their buddies in the media in making everybody else hate Republicans. They think the Virginia gubernatorial election is the sign that the country has admitted its mistake and is ready now to get back to normal and elect Democrats to run Washington, D.C. So they have made this assumption. They want it to be true so badly that they actually think that they are there, and they aren't. I don't think the Democrats, I really don't. The evidence is all around them, and I think they're in denial. The DNC can't raise any money. The RNC, as unpopular as it is among rank-and-file Republicans, is outraising the Democrats. The Democrats, the amount of money they're raising is not worth much more than an asterisk in the most recent reporting. They're having all kinds of trouble raising money of the $10, $20, $50 variety from average, ordinary Democrats. I mean, they've still got their Hollywood, the usual wealthy donors from all the different Democrat groups, but they do not have the donations of average, run-of-the-mill Democrat voters, the base, if you will. And so they know this, but I don't think they tell themselves the truth about what it means. They have shown the ability to lie to themselves over and over again for the express purpose of shielding the pain and making themselves feel better. And because they think that they've come back, they're looking at Franken and all these others, a liability. They've won it. 2018, it's in the bank, but not if Franken stays. So Franken's got to go. And then there's also the Roy Moore calculation that they are making here. But when you look at the news today from ADP Services. You know what ADP is, automatic data processing, the payroll people. Yesterday, ADP Services reported, you ready for this? The largest number of new manufacturing jobs, it says here in history, I don't know what period of time, 40,000 new manufacturing jobs in 10 months. Donald Trump campaigned on bringing manufacturing jobs back. Barack Hussein Obama presided over them being lost. And it wasn't just Obama presiding over them being lost. When Obama was asked about the jobs, the manufacturing jobs that had been lost, Obama told the nation and Democrats they're not coming back because we're modernizing and we're transforming. And those jobs, they're never coming back because those jobs are not jobs that are going to be needed anymore. In June of 2016, Barack Obama was asked about jobs for the Carrier Corporation in Indiana. And here's what Obama's answer was. When somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, he's talking about Trump here. When somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, that he's going to bring all these jobs back, well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. Trump just says, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how? How exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand does Trump have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer. Obama was at the Carrier Corporation. He was asked a question about manufacturing jobs being lost. And he chose to castigate Trump for misleading people and lying. You can't bring these jobs back. They're not coming back. 40,000 new manufacturing jobs in 10 months. The people that hold those jobs and the communities in which those jobs have been recreated know it. They live it. It's part of their life. Look at this. Trump's agenda and policies, as I previously mentioned, are more conservative than either President Bush's. Trump's foreign policy is solid. We have a president who's actually dealing with North Korea rather than kicking it down the road. We have a president who's dealing with China, who is dealing with Japan, rather than status quo and don't make any waves. Deregulation. Trump and his administration have gotten rid of more regulations in 10 months than any previous president ever tried to get rid of, which is zero. Trump's judicial appointments are game-changing. It's not just Gorsuch. The judges that Trump has appointed to the district court bench and the appellate court, they are better and larger. They're greater in number than any previous so-called conservative Republican president. And on that score, it isn't even close. And the more Trump speaks, whether he knows it or not or intends it or not, the more conservative he's sounding. And the more conservatism he's promoting. And the more he speaks it, and the more he promotes it, and the more of it in his agenda that happens, the more they attack him. I'm talking about the never-Trumpers. Trump gets attacked by the never-Trumpers with each success. Well, we just don't like his personality. He's embarrassing. We can't go anywhere and admit that we like what Trump is doing because Trump is such a horrible man, and we can't be seen by our sophisticated friends to be approving of what Trump's doing. And that's what bugs him. But on the things that we all thought mattered, we all thought these conservatives who were never Trumpers, we thought they were conservative, but they don't seem to be happy or satisfied with this overwhelming amount of conservatism that Trump is dishing up. Making them look kind of weak. He's making them look dead wrong in their predictions about him and his so-called incompetence and what he was not going to be able to get done. He's gotten done more than any of them would have gotten done had they been elected. The job market, 2 consecutive quarters of over 3% economic growth, when the media and Obama said that would never be possible again. and it was a pipe dream and very, very disingenuous to promise people that because it was not true and it was going to lead them into massive disappointment. The number of deportations is way up. The number of illegals coming into the country is way down. The number of prosecutions and deportations of MS-13, the gang, is way up. All these people have is the Trump dossier and Mueller and his stupid investigation and collusion and Trump's dishonesty and all whatever it is they want to try to chalk up to. But on the substance of what Trump is accomplishing here, it infuriates them. Both sides, conservative and liberal never-Trumpers. And to show you how upset and how mind-boggled they are, remember, they thought by now they would have gotten rid of Trump and Pence would be president and they'd be hassling him so much that he would quit. But Trump is still standing. They can't believe they've fired everything they've got. They have made up a dossier. They've had all these phony claims from the deep state. You know it all. The FBI rigged for Hillary Clinton. The FBI rigged against Donald Trump. He survived it all. He still won the election despite all that was arrayed against him. He still continues to implement an agenda despite all that's arrayed against him. They can't believe it. And it's been so effective that Barack Obama has been reduced to claiming that if we don't stop Trump, we're headed for Nazi Germany. So there's a couple more observations of Al Franken real quick to buttress my theory that his resignation hasn't happened yet. He took that floor in the United States Senate and he spent the bulk of his time building himself up and talking about what a champion for women he is and has been, what a great guy he is and what he's learned and how much he cares about representing people in Minnesota. Selfless warrior, he described himself. There was no apology. No apology. He didn't acknowledge that one thing these women were saying is true. He questioned the memories of these women's stories. And he claimed to be a champion of women and women's rights. He said some of these things are just flatly untrue, and the others, I just don't remember them that way. So that's essentially calling them liars. That speech of his was to repair damage to him. And that's, whether he resigns or not, that's what its purpose was. Look, we've got Obama from back in June of 2016, PBS special Questions for Obama. This is a NewsHour special town hall event in Elkhart, Indiana, where he got a question about the Carrier Corporation from a Carrier employee. He said, I see where you're trying to do a lot of things, but in Indianapolis, there's nothing there for us anymore. I mean, what's next? What can we look forward to in the future as far as jobs, employment, whatever? Because all of our jobs have left. We're in the process of leaving. This is smack dab in the middle of campaign, folks. And here's Obama's answer.
Some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And when somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back, well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
The guy that didn't have an answer was you. The guy that had no experience in this kind of thing is you. The guy that didn't know how to negotiate is you. 40,000 new manufacturing jobs in America in the first 10 months of the Trump administration. There's Obama saying, you can listen to what Trump's saying. You know what he's talking about. He's lying to you. You can't count on it. Well, looky here. We're at the top of another hour. Well, the end of another hour. And a brief obscene profit timeout at the top. Don't forget rushlimbaugh.com and look at the video we produced on our new Christmas tree ornament or at our Facebook page. It's 90 seconds. It'll be well worth your time. Greetings, my friends, and welcome back. It's great to have you, Rush Limbaugh, in the EIB network and the Limbaugh Institute, where we meet and surpass all audience expectations every day. The telephone number, 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. I'm hesitating here because I'm trying to reorganize the audio sound bites. They get all out of order here, and there's a couple I want to use, and I had to go find them, so I'm doing it while I'm talking, because I can multitask here. Cookie has this 60 Minutes thing that she says is hilarious, that we've had for 2 or 3 days that I haven't used. Let me go ahead and do it. I found that. Apparently 60 Minutes just celebrated their 50th anniversary. I went to their, what was it? I went to the 25th. I went to the it was at the Temple of Dundar, Temple of whatever exhibit at a museum. That's where they sat me with Camille Paglia and thought there were going to be fireworks. Steve Croft and Morley Safer kept circling my table. I couldn't figure out why. And they were waiting for Camille Paglia to storm out in protest at being forced to sit at my table, which, of course, didn't happen. We became fast friends. Ruined their night. Ed Bradley, too. It was the only reason I was invited. They'd profiled me, but I was only invited there because they thought fireworks were going to erupt. So, Sunday night, 60 Minutes, the 50th anniversary, after an opening montage of footage from stories spanning the last 50 years, not any of them including my profile, they played their iconic opening, listing all of their contributors. I am Morley Safer. I'm Ed Bradley. I'm Steve Croft. I'm Leslie Stahl. And you're not one of us. In that opening they do. They left somebody out. And we decided to add that somebody in. So here is their version.
I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm Harry Reasoner.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Dan Rather.
I'm Ed Bradley.
I'm Diane Sawyer.
I'm Steve Croft.
I'm Meredith Vieira.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Bob Simon.
I'm Scott Pelley.
I'm Katie Couric. I'm Laura Logan.
I'm Anderson Cooper.
I'm Byron Pitts.
I'm David Martin.
I'm Sharon Alfonsi.
I'm Oprah Winfrey.
I'm Bill Whitaker. Tonight, 50 years of 60 Minutes.
If you can put 50 years of 60 Minutes in 60 Minutes, there must not have been much happening in the 50 years. But they tried it. But they left somebody out. We were watching this, and it was obvious that they didn't include somebody. So we did.
I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm Harry Reasoner.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Charlie Rose.
I'm Dan Rather.
I'm Ed Bradley.
I'm Diane Sawyer.
I'm Charlie Rose.
I'm Steve Croft.
I'm Meredith Vieira.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Charlie Rose.
I'm Bob Simon.
I'm Scott Pelley.
I'm Katie Couric.
I'm Charlie Rose.
I'm Laura Logan.
I'm Anderson Cooper.
I'm Byron Pitts.
I'm David Martin.
I'm Charlie Rose.
I'm Sharon Alfonsi.
I'm Oprah Winfrey.
I'm Bill Whitaker.
I'm Charlie Rose. I'm Charlie Rose. I'm Charlie Rose.
How can you do this and leave out Charlie Rose? He was there. They knew who he was. They left him out. Well, how conspicuous is this? Is not an admission. So we thought it was a disservice to Charlie and his contributions to 60 Minutes and CBS. So we put him back in it. Time Magazine Person of the Year. Let me find. I've got something on this in the stack here. If I can find the stack. I got it. I think I got it. I got it. Do you know what they announced? Do you know who the Person of the Year is, Time Magazine? What? It is not some group of women. It is the silence breakers. It is the women of Weinstein and the Democrats' sexual harassment. It's Ashley Judd. It's all of these women. It's not Trump. Time has named all of these women who have come forward and acknowledged that they've been abused, harassed, or even raped as the silence breakers, the individuals who set off a national reckoning over the prevalence of sexual harassment in the Democratic... Wait, I added that. They didn't say that. As its 2017 Person of the Year. Do you know where they announced this? on the Today Show. They announced it on the Today Show, and they did it with Hoda Kotb. It's audio soundbite number 11 in 3, 2, 1.
It's time for the big reveal. Who is Time's Person of the Year?
The 2017 Person of the Year is the Silence Breakers, the voices that launched a movement. This is the fastest moving social change we've seen in decades, and it began with individual acts of courage by hundreds of women, and some men too, who came forward to tell their own stories of sexual harassment and assault.
That is, what's his name, Edward Felsenthal. He's the editor-in-chief at Time Magazine. Savannah Guthrie, wanting to get in on the action here, said, look, the runner-up is President Trump. Now, first of all, what's your rationale here? And second of all, he's tweeted that Time wanted him to be Person of the Year and that he rejected you. He said Time wanted him, but you didn't. The Time wanted him, but he told you to go pound sand. So is that true?
Well, he's number 2 on our list because he has changed the very nature of the presidency and the way the White House functions. He's on the verge of his first major legislative victory. He's reshaping the judiciary and aggressively rolling back regulations.
Now, let me look for nothing there about. He didn't answer the question about whether Trump was telling the truth, that they begged him to be Person of the Year and he told him to go pound sand, so Time chose the women. Now, there's one more on this. Little Brian Stelter, the media guru and analyst at Time Magazine, spoke with Poppy Harlow, Infobabe at CNN. She said thousands of women stood up, spoke out, said Me Too, their battle cry against decades of sexual harassment. Landed them, Brian, as Time Magazine's Person of the Year, the magazine's cover memorializing the silence breakers. Trump's the runner-up. This is big, Brian. As our media analyst, tell us what it all means.
It's a year that started with a women's march and ends with this cover, with silence breakers. You know, it's been exactly 2 months since the New York Times.
Wait a minute. Hold it a minute. Hold it. The year began with a women's march? What year is he talking about? Is he talking about the vagina hats? Well, that began with Trump being elected. What the hell is this? A year began with a women's march. Oh, well, play the thing anyway, doesn't it?
Harvey Weinstein story. Only 2 months since that scandal erupted, and we've seen dozens of allegations against dozens of powerful men since. Notice there's an arm that sticks out there in the corner of the cover. It's for the next woman who may come forward. If 2017 was about the silence being broken, 2018 has to be about systemic change. And to that point, I just put up a story on CNN.com about Mark Halperin accusers and Charlie Rose accusers coming together, forming a support group, forming a coalition. They want to see change in television newsrooms.
Right. Had to link this to Trump. Oh, well. Here's the thing about this, folks. In all candor, in all honesty, in all objectivity as an analyst, this is huge. This is earth-shattering huge. These revelations, the people that have been taken down, the people who've been exposed by this, is monumental. The outing of all of these paragons, all of these stars and heroes, self-appointed arbiters of courage and of morality. I mean, this is big. All of these people outed and taken down after having massively degraded women and young boys. And I'm sure the media would love for this to have been about Trump. They wish that the Person of the Year could be the media for destroying Trump. But the media didn't do this. You can't tell me that Weinstein was not known until the New York Times published a few months ago. These people were all white, and I'll tell you something else. If Hillary Clinton had been elected, this would not have happened. If Hillary Clinton had been elected, Harvey Weinstein, I was not joking, he would be sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom after paying for it with massive donations. And he and Bill would still be running around doing whatever they've always done. Harvey Weinstein, there would not have been a story. There would have been no need. The Democrats and the media would have been deliriously happy. We would not have had a single one of these sexual harassment stories break. Not a one of them, if Hillary Clinton had won. And that's just one of the many things that we could cite as evidence of how important the Trump victory was. As it is, the only reason this stuff came out now is because the media is hell-bent on getting Trump. And the calculation was made that if they're going to get Trump, they've got to throw Clinton overboard, Bill Clinton and Monica, and expose some of these other things. NBC had this story a year ago on Harvey Weinstein, and they dropped it because they knew that their number one anchor on the Today Show was doing the same kind of stuff, and they had to cover that up. Donald Trump being elected has shaken up everything like a cocktail shaker. And these people are discombobulated and don't know what to do about it. If Hillary Clinton had won, we would not have a revived economy. We would not have any of the changes we've had on the border. None of the things that people are optimistic about. The economy, the job market, the overall economic none of the confidence, none of this would be happening right now. I frankly don't know even kind of mood I would be in. I'd probably be asking myself, what's the point of showing up here every day? I mean, really, 4 more years of, come on, folks, hang in there. We can do it. Who's going to feel like it? Half the audience on the way to New Zealand. I mean, it was a big, or Singapore. You have a question? Official Program Observer has a question. What is the... Yeah, the silence break is a big story. You're talking about this, the sexual harassment story. Yeah. No, well, I'm not trying to denigrate Trump, and I think this is big. Trump was Person of the Year last year. It's not like he's being slighted, wasn't he? Okay, fine. So arguably, worldwide, Trump has made the biggest. Trump is the reason this happened. In fact, Trump being elected is why all these dominoes are falling. I'm not denying that. But normally, a Time magazine Person of the Year selection is an abject joke, like the climate or like the computer or like something. This is not insignificant. That's all I'm saying. I think this is a big deal, that all of this behavior been going on in the workplace, and not the least because of who it is. Folks, it's the phonies among us. The people have been preaching to us about being phony prudes and don't sit in judgment of other people, making fun of people who try to live a decent life. The people making these filth movies and trying to foster them on everybody. Look who's gotten caught up in this. You can't turn harassment into a partisan. I didn't. It is what it is. I mean, it's undeniable. I'm not suggesting that Trump would not have been a valid choice. I'm just saying this one, I do think, was earth-shattering. Can you look at the Democrat resignations? Look at I think it's going to be a blowback too. I think the pendulum is going to go too far one way. There's going to be a little bit of an overreaction to this, but it'll balance out. Look, I have to take another time out. There's some other things I want to get to here. I didn't intend to spend this much time on it, but the Program Observer asked me a waste of time question, and I had to answer it. So we'll come back after taking little obscene profit break, and we will roll right on. We started the program today. 6 female Democrat senators were demanding that Al Franken resign. Now we're up to 22 senators and counting. The boy senators on the Democrat side are now falling in line behind the female senatorial lead. Here is Ricardo in McAllen, Texas. We head back to the phones. Hi, Ricardo. Great to have you here.
Rush, it's an honor, man. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, it's great to have you, Ricardo. I'm glad you took the time to try to get through today.
You bet, man. My pleasure. Listen, if it can be concluded that Mueller is no longer doing the Russian collusion investigation, if this is the case, then Sessions should start doing his job, as he is no longer precluded.
Well, wait a minute.
From the investigation.
I see. You're thinking that Sessions should unrecuse himself.
Yes, exactly.
Well, but the idea that it's not a Russian collusion investigation is opinion. It is my opinion. It's the opinion of other learned analysts. The investigation as it's being conducted is still a investigation into Russian collusion. That's what Mueller, that's the concept under which they're proceeding. They have not said it's not that.
Well, then let me give you then another angle. With everything that's been discovered and what the previous FBI director overlooked, Sessions should assign his own special investigator and proceed on that.
So you don't think that this investigation should be shut down?
No, I do not.
Why?
And the reason why, because whatever is going to come out of this investigation, Mueller has had to have looked the other way on many of the things that they discovered in order to proceed against Trump. And this other special investigator is going to find that out. And that being the case, everybody, including Mueller, the Clintons, Comey, are coming down.
What you want Sessions to open another investigation of the Clintons and to investigate the Mueller investigation.
Exactly. Because things have come out of this that were overlooked from previous administrations, previous directors, and this needs to be resolved. This is a country of law.
Well, now, look, I agree with that. I don't know how you get there. I think these investigations, the longer they go, you wear people out. The thing about an investigation is, Andy McCarthy made this point yesterday in the interview, Ken Starr blew it. Because the people, during the investigation of Clinton-Lewinsky, the Clintons controlled it, because every day James Carville was out there accusing Starr of being a sex pervert and selling cigarettes to teenagers and kids while he was investigating Clinton, and may even have had contact with aliens. And meanwhile, the Starr team's saying nothing. Well, the Mueller team's controlling this one. The Mueller team's doing the leaking. The Mueller team's filing the charge against Flynn. And so if there's something new that is leaked or released every day or every other day, then you can avoid the fatigue of it. Because ideally, an investigation, nobody would know diddly squat till it's over and they announce their actions. But that's not what happened, because this thing is purely political. An investigation of the investigation, I don't know. But I get your point. You think that the elements of this investigation that are fraudulent need to be exposed. The American people need to be told. And I agree with you about that. But I'm going to tell you, Ricardo, you and I on this know 90% more than the American people. What you and I are talking about, the American people who get their news from the drive-by media haven't heard a word of any of this. They don't know. They're not being reported. A man, a legend, a way of life. Jeb Bush has just tweeted his applause and congratulations to Donald Trump for recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. He says he is happy that the president has followed through on the promises of many American presidents. Clinton promised it. George W. Bush promised it. Obama promised it. Trump And Trump did so during the campaign, Trump making it happen. Mary, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Great to have you with us. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the first part of my question was already answered or asked by the prior gentleman about the unrecrusion. And the second part is, can the funding of the investigation be stopped? They have already spent $7 million. And my husband's comment was he would like Jeff Sessions to reach into his wife's purse, get out his gonads, and reattach himself and get some work done.
Such a mild-mannered caller from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and then blindsided by the idea the Attorney General's balls are in his wife's purse. Well, you ought to meet Al Franken. The idea of funding for this investigation, this is such a convoluted thing. We went through the history of it yesterday in my post-show interview with Andy McCarthy, which is coming up in the next issue of my newsletter, the Limbaugh letter. And it was a good reminder how all of this began, not just the Sessions recusal, but the fact that there's no underlying crime that's being investigated, that it's open-ended, the funding is open-ended. And there have been so many, this investigation is so tainted now that you would think the people behind it would want to do something to clean it up, including Rod Rosenstein, who's a deputy attorney general acting for Sessions, whose testicles were in his wife's purse after he'd been recused, or after he had recused. That somebody needs to step in here and try to get this back, because we know of the tainted investigators. Now, with all of the anti-Trump bias and even hatred that they have for Donald Trump, there's no way this investigation would ever be called objective now. And of course, I think it's bogus in the first place. We've had a suggestion that we aired earlier from a former CIA analyst who says that his estimation, Trump should just pardon everybody and end this because it's gone. There's no there. There's no crime. There was no collusion. Everything is being done. It's a trap. This whole thing, it really is, folks. The Trump dossier, I'm not kidding you. The Trump dossier was written to cause just this. They wrote a phony and false document that was designed to be used by co-conspirators at the CIA and the Obama administration as legitimate intelligence that was earth-shattering in its consequences and needs to be pursued. It's all BS. There's not a shred of truth in it, but it's the framework and the foundation, the basis for the investigation. And Comey has said so, and John Brennan, CIA, has said so. And it's nothing more than a trap. If you pardon everybody, then the investigation is over. And if you do this with the president explaining why he's doing it and walk people through this, the danger, of course, is public opinion. And if Trump does this, remember, the drive-by media has not reported much of what I just told you. They've reported some of it. But your average, ordinary news consumers do not know probably 75% of the stuff we have revealed and that we all talk about here, folks. The drive-by media just does not report this stuff, or most of it. As such, if it would be out of the blue to a lot of people, Trump's shutting it down, the first thought they would, the investigation must be getting close, and Trump's doing a Nixon, and shouldn't be. And that's the last thing that Trump wants, is to have anybody think that it's Nixon revisited. But, look, something is going to have to give here, because this is bogus, and it has now been discovered. And whether the drive-bys are reporting it or not, they know it. And everybody that's paying attention to this knows it. This is not a legitimate investigation. It's not a legitimate premise. But it still has the power of the Justice Department behind it. This guy can still go to court and get indictments if he wants to impanel a grand jury. He can still lean on people to get plea agreements to avoid them going broke and having their families ruined, even though the whole thing is a bogus trap. Sessions unrecusing himself and conducting another. It's not a far out idea. Andy, in fact, had an idea. Trump appointed an independent counsel. In fact, Sessions is only recused from this stupid Russia thing. Sessions appoint, get this, independent counsel to investigate the Iran nuclear deal. There were pallets of cash delivered in release for hostages. Does the Iran nuclear deal really let Iran get a nuclear weapon in 10 years? Or how about a special counsel into some of the really odd vagaries of Obamacare? I mean, the point is, turn the tables on these people. Start looking at them with the power of the DOJ that they're looking at Trump. I think what we're looking at here, this whole investigation, as I have characterized it the last 2 days, and I'm not going to start yelling about it again, but it frosts me that this whole thing is bogus on a false premise, that it's a pure trap, that there's no collusion, and that everything happening to people here is process crimes, obstruction of justice, or lying to investigators. None of this should be happening because the premise of this investigation didn't happen. There is no collusion. This investigation is, in my estimation, one of the biggest news stories in generations. This investigation and the bogus nature of it, the political nature of it, the origins of it. This is waiting for a Woodward Bernstein to come along and expose this for what it really is, because Trump is a chump player compared to what this is. I'll detail it when I get back from the break. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Don't go away. NBC News has reported, it's in thehill.com, that Rupert Murdoch's home in the Los Angeles area near Bel Air has burned to the ground. It's a 7,500 square foot structure on a winery. It's about 5 miles from the ocean at 900 feet on the side of a mountain, and it's toast. It's burned down. This fire is not the usual, in the canyons with occasional homes in the way. This is, they're calling this the Skirball fire. Started at 5:30 this morning, and it's burning right across the 405, south of Sherman Oaks and down into Bel Air, and spreading. Right now, I think they said 50 acres. That may be a while ago, but this is Hollywood. This has the potential here to be biblical if they don't get this under control. Look, I don't have time to detail this, but let me run through this real quick, because to me, this is a Woodward and Bernstein story that surrounds us every day. I think it's the biggest story in generation. I think it's bigger than Watergate. And the drive-bys are sitting around ignoring it because they're part of it. They really are, in this case, acting as opposition to the people. We have a corrupt bunch of Democrats who are attempting to overthrow a president. That is such a huge story, but they're in on it. They're helping, so they're trying to cover that up. Imagine if a real journalist wanted to do this story. We have top FBI officials working for Hillary Clinton, the campaign loser. They are abusing their powers to try to find out garbage about an incoming Republican transition team. We have James Comey, the FBI director, exonerating Hillary Clinton of all crimes before even interviewing her. We have massive leaks from every branch of the government that are all lies, and by every aspect of the executive branch, the deep state. We have a guy who changed wording to a non-crime to protect Hillary, who is working on the investigative team of Trump. We have Comey a Mueller butt lick for years, leaking information illegally to the New York Times. That's just half the list of things going on here. I see now, by looking at the clock, I'm going to finish this tomorrow. But this, to me, is big, but they're in on it. By the way, folks, really, I wanted to remind you quickly, check the new Christmas tree ornament we have at the EIB store at rushlimbaugh.com. I meant to mention it again today, but everything got past me. But it's so pretty. It's so gorgeous. We'd love you to have one. I'll get details on it tomorrow. You can see what it looks like, though, at the EIB store at rushlimbaugh.com. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Adios, folks. See ya.